celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Thursday, August 29th, 2019, and here are some of today's trends in the news. And we're not doing trends in the news tomorrow because it's the Labor Day weekend begins. So we're doing it on Thursday. Over there in Asia, it was mixed. It was down a little bit. And over there in Europe, it came up. Over here in the States, up, 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 up. Gold down, 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 down. Oil up a little bit, and Bitcoin keeps going lower. On the market front, China's Commerce Ministry said today, that it was opposed to escalating trade tensions, hinting Chinese authorities will not retaliate against Trump. Guess what? We've always said they're going to make a deal. This is only moving the markets temporarily. It's bigger than trade. Volume is very low as we go into the weekend of Labor Day. Watch what happens when things start up again in several days. And Trump is dialing back his rhetoric against China because he knows that talk is driving the markets down. Again, there's a global slowdown, and it's much bigger than the so-called trade war between the United States and China. In economic news, second quarter U.S. GDP was revised down to 2% from 2.1%. 2% isn't a lot of growth. And what else do we have here? Oil. Oil went up because inventories went down. But as we see it, way too much supply and not enough demand. It's in the range where we think it's going to stay. Outlook for S&P 500. Profits dim as trade war bites. That's according to Financial Times. And the S&P 500 index will increase profits 2.4% on a per-share basis this year, down from 7.7% growth expected at the start of the year. U.S. companies announced $2 billion in stock buybacks. That's the weakest pace in 2 years. Still buying them back, but not like they were when Trump gave them that break, that tax break. And another reason why they're not buying them back like that, as they were, is because insiders are selling stocks like it's 2007. I say, the stock market is near its peak. I've been saying this for a while. It's gone up this year, pretty healthy, even with these downturns, but the best, as I see it, is over. Corporate insiders have sold an estimated $600 million worth of stock per day in August, and August is on track to be the fifth month of the year in which insider selling tops $10 billion. And again, the S&P 500 is still strong, up some 14% this year. So when you think of that number, and all the times they say that the market's down because of the trade war with China. No, the markets would be in the toilet or the turlet, as we used to say in the Bronx, if it was a real trade war. July pending home sales reversed costs, falling 2.5% despite lower mortgages. Yeah, the rates went down a bit, but they went back up a little bit, and now they're back down. Remember yesterday, I read this headline, Strife dims Hong Kong property boom. And I said, it's more than the strife that's dimming the boom. It's a slowdown in the global economy. The U.S. market for commercial real estate flashed a warning sign in the first half of 2019. For the first time in 7 years, overseas investors in office buildings and retail space became net sellers of properties. Direct acquisitions fell by more than 40%. There's a global slowdown. It's the beginning of the greatest depression. When will it hit? My best estimate is in 2021, after the elections. But of course, there's always the wild cards, whether they're made by nature or by man-made, and there's no wilder card than the Trump card. New recession warning. The rich aren't spending. Oh, hey, wait a minute. U.S. market for commercial real estate flashed a warning sign. Insiders are selling stock. The rich aren't spending. High-end real estate is having its worst year since the financial crisis. The Greatest Depression is coming. Luxury retailers are struggling. At this month's massive Pebble Beach car auction, the most expensive cars faltered on the block. In the first half of 2019, art auction sales were down for the first time in years. Tiffany sales fall. You know why they said it falls? Because tourist traffic is down. That's what Tiffany says. But it's bigger than that, as I see it, because front page in today's Financial Times, De Beers diamonds in a rough patch as oversupply and artificial gems hit sales. And the rough diamond sales plummeted 44%. The Russian diamond producer, Arosa, reported a 51% fall in diamond sales. Shares of Signet, the world's largest retailer of diamond jewelry, has fallen more than 60% this year. Tiffany, it's bigger than tourists. Tiffany, it's a global slowdown. Tiffany. Oh, and by the way, I was a keynote speaker at one of De Beers conferences in South Africa a number of years ago, right before the Panic of '08, and I predicted it at that conference in Sun City. Suzuki and Toyota use cross-holdings to fortify push into autonomous cars. That's right. This is an antiquated system, our cars. The roads are packed with them. Remember what I said about the Greatest Depression. When the Great Depression hit back in the 1930s, there were 2 billion people on the planet. We've added 5.5 billion in less than 100 years. The roads are packed with cars. This is stupid production. This isn't 21st century thinking. We should be coming out with new systems. And of course, real mass transit is one of them. But autonomous cars, I don't see them going anywhere. Remember, I just read you that other report yesterday about all the people whose brakes won't work. Yeah, and what was it, 57 million recalls in the United States last year. And you're going to have autonomous cars. Okay. You know, one of my platforms of Occupy Peace is to bring all the troops back home, secure the border, and put them to work rebuilding our rotted infrastructure. Called the Troops Progress Administration, to take after the WPA, Work Progress Administration, in the 1930s, when they put people to work rebuilding the infrastructure, Hoover Dam, highways, parkways, bridges, you name it, built all over the country. And it gives them skills that they don't have by practicing these antiquated, stupid war games. So, by putting them to work, giving them skills, they would have jobs when they get out of the service, because 80% of contractors report difficulty finding qualified workers to hire as firms give low marks to quality of new worker pipeline. Yep, they don't know anything. You know, back when I was a kid, for the kids that weren't very good in academics like myself, we had shop classes. I didn't take any of those either, but we had them. You learned trades. We're not learning trades anymore. Occupy Peace would bring trade skills rather than murderous wars. And talking about murderous wars and crazy people, Mad Dog Mattis, you remember him. He was our Secretary of Defense under Trump in the beginning. Mattis says the U.S. needs More allies. A big story here in today's Wall Street Journal. He said he quit when my, quote, concrete solutions and strategic advice no longer resonated. What concrete solutions? What strategic advice? And he has a new book. The book is devoted to recounting his 4 decades as a Marine, with emphasis on his time leading troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Quote, nations with allies thrive, and those without them wither. Alone, America cannot protect our people and our economy. You know what that is?
Bullshit.
That's right. Bullshit. We can protect ourselves and we can have a self-sustaining economy. Oh, and you brag about all that you did in Iraq, the illegal war. The illegal war, Mad Dog Mattis. Yeah, you did a great job over there in Iraq with Fallujah. Terrific. Destroyed the place. How many people, innocent people, were killed? Oh, yeah. And you brag about getting them Taliban and those Islamics in Afghanistan. We have no business being there. But they quote this guy like he's an intelligent person and knows what he's talking about. This is Mad Dog Mattis, who said, quote, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet. Hey, maybe those sick guys in El Paso and Dayton took your words to heart. Yeah, I come in peace. I didn't bring artillery, but I'm pleading with you with tears in my eyes. If you fuck with me, I'll kill you all. Yeah, what an example to follow. That's what I salute you, General, and I don't salute anybody except those that I believe in, as myself being a warrior for the Prince of Peace. I won't die for war, but I'll fight for peace. You will kill innocent people because you're Mad Dog Mattis, and you have a plan to kill everybody that you meet. Remember, occupy peace because they're going to take us to war. www, occupy peace, put your money where your heart is. Remember, the Great Depression, we had trade wars, currency wars, the Great Depression, World War II. Trade wars, currency wars, Greatest Depression, World War III. Remember what Einstein said. I don't know how the Third World War will be fought, but the fourth will be fought with sticks and stones. Speaking of which, attacks put focus on Israel's shadow war with Iran. Big story here. Israel counters Iran in flare-up of shadow war. Look at this. Both the New York Times and the Financial Times. You think there's anything going on here between when to put these stories out, how to write them, and use the same language? Israel has carried out a series of attacks across the Middle East in recent weeks to prevent Iran from equipping its Arab allies with precision-guided missiles, drones, and other sophisticated weapons that could challenge Israel's defense. What right does Iran have to do that? Only the United States has the right, and the UK and the you-know-who's-K has the right to give their murderers weapons like they did for the Saudis to slaughter all those innocent Yemenis, right? But no. Iran's not allowed to do anything. In an 18-hour period over the weekend, an Israeli airstrike killed 2 Iranian-trained, you ready for this language? This is propaganda. This is a trend tracking lesson from the toilet paper of record. In an 18-hour period over the weekend,
an Israeli airstrike killed
2 Iranian-trained militants in Syria. It had militant written on their back. A militant's anybody that they don't like. A drone set off a blast near a Hezbollah office in Beirut's southern suburbs, and an airstrike in Iraq killed a commander of the Iran-backed Iraqi militia. Iranian officials said the Israeli attacks would not go unanswered. Hey, payback's a bitch. Oh no, you can't pay back, you can't pay back. America, anybody, they could kill anybody that they want, but when the people attack them, then they is militants. Could you imagine if Syria and Iraq and Lebanon did this to Israel? Oh, that would be a different story. But going back to the Financial Times one, attack put focus on Israel's shadow war with Iran. The next lead-in, Netanyahu feels need to show success as he faces election next month. Ha ha. When all else fails, they take you to war. He has an election coming up, and he's running neck and neck with the guy that's challenging him. Michael Ouan, Lebanon's president, called the drone strikes a declaration of war. Yep. When all else fails, they take you to war. And speaking of which, U.S. offering amnesty to Maduro if he quits. A top American diplomat said the United States would not prosecute or otherwise seek to punish President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela if he voluntarily left power. Elliot Abrams, a convicted criminal, that's who Americans call a top diplomat. Yeah, a diplomat. The State Department's special envoy for Venezuela said he had seen no indication that Mr. Maduro was willing to step down. But he went on to say, we want him to have a dignified exit and go. Who the hell are you, you little piece of garbage, criminal crap, diplomat? Stay the hell out of everybody else's business. Honor the founding fathers. No foreign entanglements. You can see what they're doing over here. This little piece of Elliot crap. Elliot Abrams. Elliot, I shouldn't say asshole because assholes have a positive function, and this guy has none. Oh, how about them Russians hacking into the U.S. election? How about those Russians? You know, they were going into the French election. How about those Russians? But it's okay, and it's good news, as reported in the Toilet Paper of Record. U.S. cyber attack made it harder for Iran to target oil tankers. A secret cyber attack against Iran in June wiped out critical database used by Iran's parliamentary arm to plot attacks against oil tankers and degraded Tehran's ability to covertly target shipping traffic in the Persian Gulf. A senior American official said, an official jerk. Hey, it's okay for you to do that, huh? It's okay for you to do cyber attacks. But if somebody did a cyber attack against the United States and the United States knew it, that would be considered an act of war. The hypocrisy, the filth, the slimy, low-life pieces of crap running this country and so many others should be put in jail and be brought up on war crime tribunals for their acts of murderous war. This is an act of war. Admit it. Hey, but we did it. It's okay. Senior officials discussed the results of the strike, in part to quell doubts within the Trump administration about whether the benefits of the operation outweigh the cost. Look at this, huh? The United States judged the strike as a proportional response to the downing of the drone. Isn't this something, huh? Anyway, Ethiopia's skull find shakes up study of human evolution. They excavated a near-complete hominin skull in Ethiopia that dates back 3.8 million years ago, which they call, quote, a game changer in our understanding of human evolution. What evolution? It's devolution. Look what I've just talked about with the sick, crazy people murdering people all over the world, doing anything to make money, one thing after another, the sickness. Evolution? No. Oh, and by the way, 3.8 million years, huh? Hey, but didn't God give Israel that land 3,800 years ago? I thought that's when everything began. It's called Israel. Moses came down with 15 commands. Oh, he dropped 5. Yep. And Mary was a virgin, and Buddha was born on a lotus blossom. Anyway, arsonists kill at least 23 in Mexico bar. I'm mentioning this disgusting thing that happened, only because they want to ban guns. You could kill anybody you want, any way you want, in a lot of different ways you want. Whether it's arson, whether it's knives, whether it's cars. It's not banning guns. It's changing morality and integrity. And nothing's going to change until we occupy peace to bring back liberty, love, joy, and beauty, integrity, and morality. And without joy and beauty, and without those other elements, more of this. So please do what you can to help support us with Occupy Peace, because they're going to be taking us to war. And as I just read to you about what's going on in Israel, I talked about what's going on in India. One country after another, when all else fails, they take you to war. So please, www.occupy peace. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.